And welcome back to our video on demand section at WMMBAM.com. Today, the two men running for sheriff in Brevard County, Republican Wayne Ivey, Democrat Adrian Moss-Beasley. Gentlemen, you both deserve commendations for the way you've run your campaigns and for the heart you have for the job and for this office. And I thank you both for running, number one, and for taking the time to talk to this audience. I really appreciate it. It's hard when you get cops coming together to talk about differences because we tend to see the world so much the same way, regardless of political party. So let's take this in the direction of what do you want to see and what do you want to accomplish for this department and the citizens of Brevard if you're elected to this job. Adrian, we'll start with you.
If I'm so honored to be Brevard County's next sheriff, I want to make sure that first we keep our citizens safe and we fight crime at every turn. I believe that's truly the first and the foremost goal of any candidate, any sheriff. I believe that we have to get back to the basics. I want to make sure that our deputies are in the community, forming those relationships and partnerships with businesses and also homeowners, attending those homeowners associated meetings and taking with them the statistical data to show those homeowners what type of crimes are taking place in their community, and if they have any information, they can divulge that information to that deputy.
All right, very good. Wayne Ivey, your thoughts?
You know, essentially for me, the changes that I would impact at the agency are going to be not only structural to some degree, not a large degree, but structural in a sense. But you know, the focus that we put out, crime prevention, as I said earlier in today's broadcast. Crime prevention is going to be paramount in my administration. We are not going to have a crime prevention unit. We're going to have a crime prevention program. We are going to embody task force approach to be able to do partnerships just like we did with Game Over, like we do with our child abduction response team. You know, any of the successes that I've had throughout the 31 years of my career is because I've created innovative programs that focus on a specific problem. Game Over was rated as one of the top programs in the country. The Child Abduction Response Team was the most innovative program in the country. The SMART panels that go after cold case homicides using volunteers and a task force approach was nominated as the #1 program in the state. So when you look at the ability for us to take existing resources, put them into play in partnerships and task forces, putting some of them back into road patrol, making sure that we are able to provide the quality of service that our community deserves and needs, we're going to have a different approach in that sense. The key to it all is going to be, Bill, if your home's broken into, you're a victim. You're a number in a box. You are a part of the crime rate increase. If I get you information before you become a victim, I help fight that increase in crime rate. I help beat it down. It is about getting in our neighborhoods. It's about getting in our civic organizations, getting in our faith-based organizations, reaching them through every medium possible. Facebook, you have a Facebook page. You work it every day. You get a bunch of content. When our Facebook administrator for our campaign team is hitting as they normally do, we reach 28,000 people a week. That's amazing. Imagine a Sheriff's Book Facebook page, fan page, with 30,000, 40,000 people on. Imagine the dynamics of how many people we can reach. Using mediums like Twitter, using mediums like FX streaming, and then our traditional methods of getting out in our community, using our deputies as part of that policing program to deliver our message of crime prevention to everyone. Because the chances of me standing beside Bill Mick when he becomes the victim of a crime is very limited. But the chances of Bill Mick being able to defend himself from becoming a victim of a crime, whether it's identity theft, burglary, theft, any of those things, is dramatically enhanced when Bill understands all of the trends that are out there.
And when Bill has Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson backing him up.
Absolutely.
If there is one difference that I noted in the radio interview with you guys, it was how you see, and when you just mentioned them, task forces. Adrian, I want to give you a chance to expound on that a little bit. Wayne's an advocate of the task force method of bringing agencies together. You said you kind of worry about taking people off the streets there. Tell me what you mean.
What I mean by that, any specialty unit within the sheriff's office or task forces that we put together, those individuals have to come from somewhere. And usually they come from patrol, especially at our sheriff's office. If someone is going into a specialty unit such as SWAT or general crimes, those individuals come from patrol. And if we don't supplement that with new hires back into patrol, then what happens is you have an influx of not having enough deputies to patrol the unincorporated areas of the county. And usually it's road patrol that suffers. And we have to make sure that road patrol is staffed sufficiently enough to keep the community safe from crime. And that's what I want to do as sheriff.
Is that what you've seen in play in the department in recent years?
Absolutely.
That if you lost somebody, you tended not to see him replaced in a precinct or whatever?
Absolutely. And that has to be addressed. So we deputies don't undergo training because we're not sufficiently staffed at patrol level to enable deputies to have more training, more educational opportunities, because the first priority, of course, is to make sure that our communities are kept safe.
All right, very good. Wayne, I'll give you a chance to weigh in here.
Yeah, and as I've said all along, this is where experienced leadership starts to separate from the pack. The term task force is generally associated with multi-agency organizations, so you're not taking resources from any one pool. You're drawing resources, and I'll use Game Over again as an example. When I created Game Over, I went to Melbourne Police Department, Palm Bay Police Department, Cocoa Police Department, Titusville, the Sheriff's Office, FDLE, and Department of Corrections, all of whom had a vested interest in fighting violent crime, fighting gang activity. We went to them, we said, look, you're dealing with all of these incidents of violence, and you're using one resource to do it. Let's combine our resources and go after them. It knocks down redundancy. It knocks down overtime. The city of Palm Bay gives us one member. They gain 6 others in exchange for that. So when they have that homicide, rather than their homicide team having to look for the suspect, they can focus on investigating the case, and we have the Game Over task force that's going out looking for that suspect and being engaged. When you look at a task force, it draws resources from all over. Task forces can be full-time. They can be part-time, depending on the crime trend that you're focusing on. When Adrian's talking about the SWAT team, he's talking about a unit. Certainly those resources are going to come from within the agency. But a task force is a broad perspective. Game Over. The Child Abduction Response Team. Child Abduction Response Team is participated in by every agency in this county, to include the Melbourne Airport Police and the Port Canaveral Police. Every agency, regardless of size, participates in that. It's a pre-trained, pre-focused team that is going out working on those things. So the task force approach, I believe very firmly, is the partnership approach that's going to help us through this tough economy. And quite frankly, how many times do we use the term playing in the sandbox together? We all have to work together to knock down redundancy, to share intelligence, and to go after one crime problem.
I don't know if there's a difference between you guys on this next topic or not, but in my 17 years on the job, I saw, in many cases, school resource officers or DARE officers in schools as a waste of police resources and as an excuse for schools to have somebody else handle the job of the dean or whoever handled discipline in the school that wasn't somebody in the administration. They could lay all that stuff off on the cops. I didn't like it. I thought we needed those men and women on the street. Tell me what you think about school resource officers and their proper utilization. Adrian, let's start with you, because I know you're big on the community policing concept, and that's kind of part of that, depending.
Absolutely. I was a school resource officer for 3 years here in Brevard County, and I believe that it's a vital program. And it's a partnership between the Sheriff's Office and the Brevard County School Board to supply officers to our schools, and I believe it's needed, especially at the high school level for sure. And that's where I was. I was at a senior high school, and the information that I was able to gather and the crimes we were able to solve on campus was great because of the partnership not only that I have with the school administrators, but the teachers and also those students that go to that particular school.
Are the crimes on the high school campuses more than the public would think that's going on in there? I mean, we would expect it to be rare, actually.
Well, you do have some crimes. You have some crimes, some misdemeanors, and unfortunately also some felonies. But if we did not have those school resource officers at those schools, it will be so time-consuming to take a road patrol deputy or an officer and have them go to a school to investigate a crime, because not only would you have to get with the administrators, but you will also have to get with those teachers on that campus to investigate a crime and also interview juveniles and find out what class they're in. That's very, very time-consuming. But if you already have a deputy at that school, then they can handle those situations. Any lieutenant sergeant with the sheriff's office would tell you it would be, the time would be much more spent with a deputy being on campus than having to have a deputy to respond to those schools.
All right, very good. Wayne Ivey, your thoughts on school resource officers?
Well, I'm a police officer today and a sheriff's candidate because of a school resource officer where I went to school at. They not only were engaged in working with the administration on security of the school and handling any crime problems that came up, but they also were engaged at that point in teaching a class about criminal justice, giving some exposure to some of the high school kids that maybe had an interest of going into the public safety industry. We see that same type program working very well today at Palm Bay High School and Rockledge High School, where they have their criminal justice programs. But I think the average school resource officer or deputy that's assigned to one of those programs does a lot more than just go in and work a crime when it occurs. They're active in a lot of things. They're escorting the sports teams to all the places they go, making sure that no harm comes to them as they're traveling to and from. They are engaged in some of the educational. The administrators and our team members there work when they identify an at-risk youth. They're trying to get them involved and get them some help at many different levels. We're actually trying to cultivate people to put into our police athletic programs. So I think it's a very worthwhile cause. As I've said before, I believe we got to get to these kids before they get to us at that jail, and every mechanism that we can to promote a positive environment for them, I think, is going to be in our advantage.
Only thing we could do better is sit around and start telling war stories, and we don't have time for that. What we're going to close with, if folks need to learn more about you or your campaign, best way for them to reach you, Wayne Ivey.
They can reach me on my cell phone at 321-271-6029, or just to learn more about not only my experience, my platform, my budgeting experience, all of it, please visit our website at electwayneivey.com.
Very good. Adrian Moss-Beasley, best way to reach you?
Absolutely. My website is Adrian Moss-Beasley, the number 4, sheriff.com, and they can also contact me on my cell phone as well, which is 321-278-4051.
Very good. Gentlemen, love you both. Appreciate you being in this, and good luck, and we'll see how it comes out on November 6th.
Bill, thanks again for everything you've done to vet all the candidates across the board.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bill, and go Mountaineers.
Go Mountaineers, baby. We'll see you next time right here on the Video on Demand page. More interviews coming next week right here at WMMBAM.com.